So whenever anyone asks a question like that, there's always going to be two sides. Some people are going to be distracted massively by shiny new objects and go, yes, I need the new technology. I need to line up outside for 3 days for the new iPhone. While others sometimes go, nah, technology. Do we really need it? Two sides to the story. So it's a really big question that you need to be able to answer. Let's dive in now on some of the pros and the cons of all of the new technology. And do you actually need it in your business right now? All right, so before we get stuck into this, one thing we need to flag is the fact that whether we like it or not, technology is here. Technology moves at a rapid pace, and we understand that, and we can't get away from it. Every moment of our lives, we feel like we're being stalked, monitored, followed, etc. And it's not really, this isn't about chemtrails and 5G and, video surveillance and all of the other things. This is about the fact that technology can be super powerful in our businesses. And in fact, it is essential in our businesses to be as efficient and effective as possible. So we get that, we understand that. But I guess the challenge that I see a lot of is I see a lot of businesses and a lot of business owners in the health and medical field getting distracted by shiny objects and being ultimately sold the next big thing, the innovation that's never been seen before. This is a product that while we've seen A before, we haven't seen B and C. This new technology will do this and this, and it becomes basically a sales game. It becomes a marketing push of what my technology company or software can actually do that apparently hasn't been done before. So those type of understandings are fundamental. We understand that that's part of sales and marketing. That's part of the process. We know we're going to get bombarded with that. But what we need to actually stop and do is actually ask ourselves, yes, well, it's not so much an ask yourself situation. It's an understanding that, yes, what may be being sold to me does actually make sense, is actually beneficial, and yes, it might be a new report that can be downloaded in a matter of seconds that will tell us the cost of tea in China on a Tuesday, right? Whatever it happens to be. Now, I'm not downplaying these. For me, I'm a bit of a tech geek. I have all the little gizmos. And yes, for those of you that know me well, I love shiny objects. I need to have certain things when I want them. That's just, that might be my weakness. This isn't about me, so let's just move on, Jace. But what we know is this, is that just because something may be providing a benefit to you, like a new report or something that might save you 5 minutes a day, etc., that might be good and well, but you need to stop and have a think about the overall ecosystem of how these play out for your business. And what I mean is that it's like you tend to find that people will either be PC orientated or they'll be Mac orientated. There'll be people that are more Google based, that use Google, Google Drive, Google Sheets, etc. They use Google Docs. They use, their storage in Google Drive and those type of things. They might use Gmail, and they're inside the Google ecosystem. While others are more, say, in the Microsoft camp, where they'll do Microsoft Word, Microsoft Publisher. There's a blast from the past. Microsoft Excel. They'll have all the online side of things with Microsoft OneDrive. So they're in the Microsoft ecosystem. And so the challenge actually is that although a lot of these do talk and they do actually link, when we start to actually cross-pollinate, things never really work as functionally as they should. There's a lot more must do this, must click that, must now do the following to make those different programs and ecosystems coexist. And so whilst a lot of people like to run out and jump at shiny new objects, they love to go and get the new technology. They are quite easily sold by a marketer trying to push their sales of a new product with, how amazing this is. And apparently they have created something that has never existed before, and they will sell with all of their tactics and tricks to get you to buy. The biggest thing you have to stop and think about is, yes, it might save you 5 or 10 minutes a day, or it might give you some data once a month or once a week to work with your team, or to give you something to do with like your cash flow projections, etc., which are very beneficial. But how long is it going to take to actually implement it? How much money is it going to take? What other challenges or discrepancies are going to actually be forced upon your current systems, operations, technologies, softwares, team, training, SOPs, etc.? Because that in itself can actually mean that you might get some type of really good data that's never been seen before to make up the mind of when to hire next. And that might be something that, is pitched at saving you $5,000 or $10,000, or, you make the wrong hire and it costs you 20 grand. So let's get this right. So there's some good positives, but the cons to that might actually be, this is going to take 2 or 3 weeks to roll out. You're going to have to change a load of your system operations. Maybe it makes other systems and connections with your other softwares and ecosystems a little bit more clunky. Maybe it reduces functionality or efficiencies in other areas. And as a net result, it might actually give you something that might prevent a 20 grand loss in the months or years ahead. But the con at the start, right, if that's the pros, the con might be that it's actually going to cost you, several thousands of dollars in the first couple of weeks alone. Maybe it's going to cost a couple of $1,000s in staff training, changing around those operations, the frustrations in and around the clunkiness of being outside the current ecosystem. And that's probably one of the biggest things that people miss in the early stage of being distracted by new technology, the new report, the one-off this, the one-off that. And you've got to stop and think about it and say, yes, I know that they are selling to me based a lot of time on fear. They're selling to me based on what might happen, that might happen once every 50 or 100 times in business once a year. It happens to one business every year out of every 50 businesses, like they sell that fear nicely. But what isn't there is the time, the money, and the effort over the next X amount of weeks and months to problem solve, to troubleshoot, to train, to implement, etc. Now, when we stop and think this directly for health and medical, these have massive ramifications. We get into situations all the time. I mean, I have clients coming to me all the time. Admittedly, they'll always be new clients. They're not clients that have been with me for a long period of time because they'll know better. But a lot of the time, I will have new clients coming to me. And some of the biggest challenges they have is that they've just changed over softwares. They've changed over the practice management system. And so the time it takes, like literally it will take 6, 8, 10 weeks for the team to actually get up to speed. Now that might be a whole bunch of extra wages and salary that you need to complete. It's a huge amount of time and effort for the reception and admin team to learn how to do these things, to process this. What other type of automations do you have with your database and your marketing? What type of flow on does it have with Google, with Xero or MYOB and your accounting? And so these things tend to take 3 or 4 months to iron out any of these challenges. And that takes a lot of time, money, effort, and frustration, right? A lot of manpower, a lot of sweat and effort to get those things right, just because we made a hasty decision over some selling techniques that are quite often quite clever that actually are going to get us doing something that we don't need to be doing, or bringing on this whiz-bang new technology because of reasons that might be good and they can sell it for so many great reasons, but the cons, the negatives, the challenges are greatly going to outweigh the positives. So that's the first thing you have to always look at as a business owner when trying to judge whether the technology and the new technology is going to be best for you. All right. Secondly, from that, one of the other things that I think most people miss is the fact that when you change technologies or when you add on some type of new tech, is you've got to make sure that you're actually still in control of things like your data and your client lists and that type of information. Now, I'm not talking about security here. I'm not talking that, they're going to fleece data and things like that. I'm not. But the challenge is there's like software programs out there now that are, and I'm not going to use names, that are, great, and they produce new reports for your business, and they provide, clinical data and applications that show, oh, you've got this amount of clients, here's what utilizations are, and they have all these data and graphs, and it's all one of a kind, and it plugs into the practice management software and all of these amazing sell scenarios, and then they go to the cost side of things, and it might be, it's about $100 or $200 a month, and you start to go, oh, but the justification is now you can make educated business decisions. Now you can save X amount of dollars in guessology for your business, get the right direction. This might mean $50,000 in more sales. They have all the sales side of things going as well, and the scarcity mentality. But what most people don't realize is that when you actually then move into that type of software or technology, you're now actually giving full control to those people to have your data, access your data, and not from the security point of view, but from the point of when you stop paying them, you lose access to that. And that's powerful. And that is a massive, massive way for them to actually hold you and keep you on board long-term as a client. So in that situation, you're much better off not going for the shiny new objects where you can go and print this amazing report that does this and does that. What you are actually better off doing is investing, rather than $200 a month, invest $500 or $600 as a one-off now, have it all built in your own ecosystem so you own it and you can do what you need to forever and a day. It's yours, it's your data, it's your system, it's your automation, it's your reports. Because whilst you use other people's software, you're always going to, at any point, say, no, I don't want to pay that. They pull the plug and you don't have access to any of those automations, any of that marketing and technology. And that becomes something that most people don't actually think about. Right? So while there might be a great avenue to run particular marketing funnels or run those reports or do any of that, what you're actually doing is you're actually empowering the external company to be able to control you and force you to keep paying them as a customer over a long period of time, which is not in your benefit long term. You want to be in control of your data. You want to be in control of what you're being able to see and not see in your business. And so that becomes a massive negative, a massive con that it far greatly outweighs any of the pros that are out there. So, great examples are what we do with our software and our own data. We've built our own financial mastery formula that's in place. We have our own database side of things built. We have our own funnels and our own marketing put into place. We don't pay these, clinical application programs and softwares, etc., to provide softwares or reports and that type of thing, right? And again, I'm not going to use any names because they're all in the same situation. They ultimately want your business, they want your money, and they want that over a long period of time, and to be able to provide value and opportunity so that you don't ever want to leave. But in saying that, as a business owner, you need to be in control and you need to have that understanding in place. So two big reasons, as I've just said, as to why the software and the technology may not be the best thing for you and your business moving forward. Granted, you need to be streamlined. You need to be online. You need to have the right backups and the right strategies and the digital footprints and that in place. And you need software and technology in place. Absolutely. But before we go rushing into this amazing next big thing or the shiny objects or the beautiful promises that the salespeople are going to put forward, always stop and think about who's controlling the data. What happens if I don't want to do this anymore for whatever reason? You don't want it, you don't like it, you want to move to something else. Who owns all of that? Because the last thing you want to do is find yourself losing control of your own business and direction and ability to build, grow, and scale because you've gone into someone else's ecosystem, software, technology that they control that you don't. So think about those, because that's worth a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of your energy and freedom in the long run. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.